They said I was a Muslim because I was born into a Muslim family. I was one of 7, third daughter in the family, and I was born in Dudley. I was a third daughter, and that was culturally not acceptable, and so I was a complete disappointment for my father. When I was 2, my father was into cars. I'm on the boot of the car and everybody else is around me. And cameras weren't common then, you see. So whenever there was picture time, everybody would come and be part of the picture. The skills aren't there, as you can see. There's most of me and less of others on that picture. My dad would take us to Grange Road Park. All the others kind of sit normally, but I'm not normal. I won't play on slides or anything, I'd go around exploring. That picture was taken there by my uncle. My 2 sisters on either side, and then my uncle's children. And you know, the conversation that used to happen between families we were arranged to marry each other. We were groomed to have arranged marriages with relatives, whether it's back home or here, and work or jobs, or that was a taboo, a complete taboo. Who I was as a child, that adventurous, ambitious dreamer, completely got trashed and taken away from me. And that my identity got lost in the picture. I loved school. I loved books. I loved everything about education. But I don't think it was part of the culture. We had never stepped out of Dudley, but we'd had family members come and go from Pakistan. So I wanted to explore what Pakistan was and where it was. When I was 9, I was sent to Pakistan on my own. And I still remember the day we had to go to the airport. He was a bit late. And I was so stressed out. And by the time we got to Heathrow, I ran. I literally let go of his hand and I ran. And I didn't look back. I did not look back. I was so excited about this journey and this trip that I didn't even look back to see how my dad was feeling. And this uncle picked me up and put me in this van full of strangers. And I had to, for the first time in my life, I sat with a complete stranger throughout this whole journey. And all I could hear was beep beep, bam bam, beep beep, bam bam. There was so much noise. The heat got to me, the noise got to me, the smells got to me. But it was adventure. Best experience of my life. And I was free. The main thing was I had freedom. What I did was I came back after my 8 weeks of my experience, and I told my siblings what a wonderful time I had, and I convinced them, and I said we should all go as a family. Exactly a year later, we all went to Pakistan. It was just so much excitement. And that's a picture that was taken with my little sister and one of the cousins. So that's my sister Serena. That's my cousin in the middle. That's me. This is my granddad's garden. He used to plant a lot. That's his garden and his flowers, but that's as much you would see. You don't see greenery. If you have a look in the picture where my great-great-grandmother is sat, you don't see greenery. That's the mud house right behind. That's the bed that we used to sleep on. We didn't have regular water, so I'd have to go to the well, and I used to carry the water back. And that was the social networking of women in those days. They would all meet up at the well, have a chat, joke, and get the water and then head back home. That was their social media. These are my aunties. I am so close to my aunties. My uncle, whose feet you can see there, he used to love taking us around and taking pictures. I was very much into pets. I kept rabbits while I was there. I went everywhere with my pigeon. That was my pet, the pigeon on my back. I remember the laughing, the playing, the childhood, the atmosphere, the heat. But unfortunately, it didn't last for long, and good things don't normally last for long. My parents got separated at that point. This is taken when my parents actually separated. I'm in the pink. My younger sister is on one of the sides. She didn't want to be in the picture, but she is. My brother, Zahid. and Tahlil. He's my youngest brother. This is taken one of the days that we were going for our passport pictures so that we could come back to the UK. We were so tight as a community. It was so much of a tight circle that there was no gaps for anybody to come and interfere. What we wore, what we ate, what we did was all dictated by not even our own parents but by others. I said I was the odd child. I was the odd child. I would challenge it. Every time my mum would say, this is not something you can do, I'd go back and say, where does it say? Where does it come from? What are the reasons? Oh, just because I said so, it wasn't good enough for me. I wasn't coping very well with the separation. And so I went back to stay with my dad. When I left for the airport, I knew I wouldn't come back. I knew there was no way I'd come back. So I grabbed whatever English books I could get hold of and I put them in my suitcase. And I remember my uncle taking me to W.H. Smith and saying, buy whatever you want. I didn't want sweets, but I went to the shelf and picked up the thickest book I could find. And those were the books that I survived with for the years that I did stay there without any education. Although I would come and go for short periods of time to see mum and come back again, I wouldn't leave my dad completely. So I went when I was 11 and I kind of properly returned when I was 16. And the reason why I returned back, because the scenario changed and all of a sudden we had this influx of people, extended relative, coming to clean up the house, and we thought, what the hell's going on? I didn't know anything about it. And then an extended member of the family who we used to call uncle came and told us that, oh, you're getting married tomorrow. I cried. My father arranged my marriage because he thought that once you're married, you belong to your in-laws. And I cried and I cried and I cried until my eyes dried out to say, what the hell's just happened? My granddad, my mum's dad, he's the only one that actually hugged me. And then things changed, everything changed. I didn't want to be in Pakistan anymore. I couldn't be with my dad. If I couldn't be with my dad, I didn't want to be in Pakistan. And I was no longer daddy's little girl anymore. After that wedding, I didn't stay for another day. Things had changed. The positive thing about that was that when I came back, I was a missus. I was independent. So I said to my mum, I'm going to go and I'm going to get myself an education. In those days, you had to pay for your exams. So I said to my mum, I'm going to get a job. My first job was working for butchers and bakers in Dudley on Pear Tree Lane. It was a night shift, 9 till 6 in the morning. And then I used to go and do adult education. And then from there I became quite independent and everything from there changed. During the period of Ramadan, the last 10 days are very holy days. I said to my mum, for 10 days, I don't want to have anything to do with anybody. I'm going to commit to God and I want some answers. And I went into this room and I sat, and for 10 days, day and night, I read. And I consulted, and I read and I consulted. That's when I had an identity. I knew who I was. I wanted to be Muslim. For the first time in my life, I wanted to be Muslim. I put on a headscarf at that point because I wanted to be recognised as a Muslim and voice my opinions and my rights as a Muslim. What I am today is something that I wasn't. I created it. What I am today is something that I put in place. My parents didn't give it, no culture gave it, no religion. Nobody gave it. I'm quite proud of who I am now. So I do have an identity now, but it didn't come naturally or normal. It was made as I went along.